Thank you so much for joining us, Raul. Go ahead and introduce yourself, and I guess, let us know how you feel about cannabis and what you think the city needs to focus on when you get elected.
Sure. Thanks so much, Dallin, and thanks for everyone for coming on today to meet the candidates. This is a incredibly important issue as we move into the future, particularly with our economy taking such a big hit over the last few months. We're going to really have to analyze every aspect of our economy and figure out how to maximize it so that we can really improve our tax base and everything that goes along with that. So I grew up in East County, San Diego, and El Cajon. My family is originally from Calexico, California. That's where my parents were born and where they were raised. And so I grew up with the tradition of my family being involved with the farm workers out in the Imperial Desert. My grandfather was a supporter of Cesar Chavez early on, and he had been boycotting grapes and lettuce at his liquor store to support farm workers early on. And so that sort of legacy of standing up for people really came through for my family. My father's been an immigration attorney for over 40 years, helping people immigrate to the United States, helping businesses immigrate to the United States as well. And so I decided that I wanted to continue that legacy in public service. Currently, I'm a deputy city attorney working in the gun violence restraining order unit. And so anytime there's an issue relating to violent threats or suicide attempt, we step in and try to de-escalate the situation by removing the guns from the situation. And that's what I've been working on for the past several months. And before that, I worked at a major law firm in Los Angeles on white collar investigations, corporate investigations. And I dropped everything for 8 months in 2016 to join the Hillary campaign in the Brooklyn headquarters, and was there to be part of that fight, and voted absentee for Prop 64 all the way from New York. So, and yeah, right. Didn't want to miss that. And so a little bit about where I'm focused on cannabis industry. For me, the biggest issue for the city is the issue of taxation. I know that in July 2019, the law took it up to 8%, and by ordinance, we can reduce that. We don't need to have it that high. If some people want it to go as high as 15 because they think, oh, we need to increase the amount we're collecting. But when I talk to people at the door and the issue comes up sometimes about, regulation and taxation is a good mechanism, I say to them, it's counterintuitive, but reducing the tax actually will improve tax receipts by putting legal cannabis dispensaries on an equal playing field with illegal dispensaries, leading to more sales. And fundamentally, that's a win-win-win for the city, for the consumer, for the industry. And when I think about that as a whole, as cannabis being part of our essential businesses, we really need to get the shops back open. We need to get them working and the workers back to work. Everyone benefits from that. Between the March primary and today, the number one issue that we as future elected officials have been worried about is how our budget deficits have been blown wide open by the lack of tax base. And so hurting there, we need to turn it around. And if we want to keep things that people really like libraries open, parks open, roads paved, we have to improve our business opportunities, and cannabis is a huge aspect of that. It's been restricted, I think, unfairly, unwisely. And so if we really want to help the city achieve all its other goals, we need to be on the same page with the cannabis industry to meet their goals as well. And what I also see is that in District 7, and Dallin, having worked extensively in District 7 a little while ago, it's changed a lot in the last 8 years, but people simply haven't been presented the argument. They haven't had anyone come to their door like I did. I knocked on 6,000 doors personally. My team knocked on over 33,000 doors in the primary. And all it takes is a good reason to get people on board. They don't generally know all the details, but when you lay it out for them, they get on board. And so we just need elected officials who are not afraid to explain it. And I think that Nathan Fletcher and Councilmember Ward are two leaders in that. And I want to continue that sort of advocacy because people get it. It's common sense. I support Councilmember Ward's leadership on the social equity aspect. I hope to pick up that mantle as he moves on to the state assembly. I think we have to, get a licensing schema implemented to promote that, and why we didn't take up the state legislature's grant program to create that. We just left money on the table. That was a big mistake.
Millions of dollars for folks that had these programs, but millions of dollars. Yeah.
It's not even those millions of dollars. That's an investment in the industry that would have helped bring way more than just the $1 million grant to San Diego, right?
Exactly.
So
Exactly.
the other aspect, and Dallin's been, I've talked with Dallin a lot about this because land use is so important. The conditional use permit process really has to be reviewed. I think that it's overzealous in its restrictions, and it's not supported. 1,000 feet, distances and 40, permit caps. These things aren't necessarily supported by science, economics, public safety concerns. Some make them, but I don't. As a deputy city attorney who's worked as a prosecutor for many years and takes public safety very seriously, I don't see the public safety concern as many seem to, and we don't see the same restrictions on other things like alcohol or cigarettes or any number of things that are more dangerous than cannabis. I'm grateful that Dallin has really been sort of my go-to person, sending me things to understand. I ask him a lot of questions, and him passing me on. So Dallin, I appreciate all your advocacy on that to help me get up to speed on some of those changes, so I can really communicate those to the voters. And of course, we also need to get a handle on the issue of lounges for consumption. I know it's a very touchy subject for people, but I'm open-minded to figuring it out in a way that meets all the community's interests. I think it's something that can be done. I think we need to not wait longer to see a problem continue to fester. If we would have approached things like short-term vacation rentals and scooters and other things faster, they wouldn't have become issues that really are outsized problems that could have been handled from early consensus and regulation. And so I'm open-minded to where we need to go on lounges as well. And fundamentally, I'll wrap up my spiel with this. My first concern and my district's first concern, I'm always putting them at the forefront of where I'm trying to lead, is making sure families are safe and healthy in our communities. That's why I became a deputy city attorney. It's why I left, the major law firm and came home to San Diego to really serve the public and to do the right thing. And I hope to represent their voice on the city council. And they just need me to provide them with the data and the science and the economics, the statistics to that argument. I think that those things show the current regulatory model doesn't maximize the social benefit that we could be having from this industry. We always look for how other industries will maximize social benefit. But for some reason, not for some reason, we know the reasons, the historical reasons that Tara laid out earlier, and the cultural reasons that Nathan pointed out earlier, they're a stumbling block, and we just need leaders to continue to stand up. And so that's why, for the people listening, I truly, truly need your support. My district is the biggest in area, in District 7, in San Diego in size, runs from east to west, from San Carlos all the way to Linda Vista and the end of Mission Valley. And it's going to be the center of development for decades to come. It has wealthy communities. It has impoverished communities. It's a very diverse area. And it's where a lot of young families are moving to now, because the housing is a little bit more affordable than along the coast or up north. And back in 2016, they passed Prop 64 in our district by just over 60% in 2016. And so we can convince District 7 to the voters to see what really needs to get done. I'm happy to be that leader. I'm excited to be that leader because I think it can lead to progress. And where District 7 goes, because of our diversity and because of our socioeconomic statuses of everyone involved and the education levels and the jobs everybody has, I think we can convince the rest of San Diego to go along with us too. And where the city leads, the county can lead. And so I need your help to get me elected. We need to raise more money. I'm in a good position to win. We have more registered Democrats, and I came in first in the primary field when there was 3 other Democrats. So we didn't splinter the field. I coalesced the Democratic base. But the Republican was much better funded than all 3 Democrats combined due to outside sources. But to me, that doesn't mean that him coming in second means I'm going to walk away within the primary and the general. That means he's going to double down on whatever it takes to win. And this is one of the last few seats that is a flip seat. And so they really do want to keep it with District 3 of the county board, District 5 up in Scripps Ranch and up there. And so I'm really ready to flip this seat. And I really need your help. We need financial help. I need more advice. I need more data to help me support these arguments. And so I really appreciate everyone on the call. my website is runwithraul.com, and I really hope that you'll support me.
Okay.
And I really appreciate you, Dallin, for putting this on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Website is in the chat there. Just a couple questions. Actually got a really good question regarding, you being in the domestic violent and gun crime unit. So it's, I'll kind of just summarize it. I think you're in a unique position. You can kind of see impacts of, alcohol versus cannabis consumption and how they interact in both gun crime and in domestic violence. So I guess question one there. And then number two is, cannabis is still a cash business, and we're still trying to work on banking solutions at the state and federal levels. Have you seen cannabis interplay with any of those other, with, I guess, both those different things, with gun violence and domestic violence, as well as it being a cash business? Our argument is because it's legal, we can actually have police protection and public security or public safety help. So.
Sure. Well, I think the first thing that I'd want to see, and this has been a big push in the last several years, is a public bank for San Diego, where we can, where you don't have to rely on, federal issues getting involved. I'm definitely on board with that. I'll jump back to the public safety thing before I move on that one. But, I've done numerous ride-alongs, nighttime ride-alongs. I like to do the 9 p.m. to 6 a.m. ones, because those are the ones that are the most significant in terms of violence. That's when bad things tend to happen, right? I was out in Eastern District. It's based out of Serra Mesa. We were up between Tierra Santa and Mission Valley. We had 8 calls in 8 hours, and 5 of them were domestic violence, and I'd say 4 of them alcohol was involved. I think that it's a very sad state of that in this current crisis. Most of the courts have been shut down because coronavirus is a serious risk, but even we understand that domestic violence prosecution has to continue forward. It's the city attorney's criminal division has not slowed down on that. And for me, being in the gun violence issue, I literally had 2 reports come in yesterday that we are filing on in the next couple days, and both of them involved a person who was intoxicated, and it wasn't marijuana, right? There's a lot of guns out there. The Second Amendment issues aside, there's a lot of guns out there. A lot of them aren't registered. A lot of them are ghost guns. Somehow gun shops are essential businesses, but marijuana dispensaries aren't. So I'm when it comes to public safety, we have to have a broader view of who we're actually protecting. And I really, I know that, cannabis is not causing criminal problems. I don't see
legal cannabis. Legal cannabis.
Well, yes. Oh, well, I mean, consumption of cannabis is not causing folks to. Yeah, no, but obviously, where it's illegally as a business, then that is a criminal issue, right? So I meant in directing towards violent conduct.
Fair.
Did I ask?
Yeah, I think you're good there, and we're running out of time here. So just want to give you just a last or just a couple more minutes, or 1 minute, just a closing statement. Anything else you want to add?
Absolutely. So I think one thing I haven't mentioned at the core of why I came into public service, besides my family history and what I'm aiming to do in this campaign, 6 years ago, my older brother Alex, he passed away from an opioid overdose, right? And as we know, 70,000 Americans die from that epidemic every single year. More than died in the entire Vietnam War, right? And I know for a fact that in his wellness, that marijuana was one avenue for him medically to deal with the chronic pain injury he had, instead of turning to opioids. And so when I hear people push back on cannabis, I say to myself, let me tell you this personal story, because I think if my brother had lived in a world that was a little bit more progressive in mindset, we'd be in a different situation here, and I wouldn't be telling this story right now. And there are serious drug issues in our society, and I don't think cannabis is one of them. And we need to make sure people understand the human element, and I bring that to this discussion as well. I lead with that story at a lot of doors. I really hope I'll have your support. Thank you so much, Dallin, and thanks everyone for listening to my story. And I hope I'll have your support.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much, Raul. Really appreciate you coming. As you can see in the chat, we have his website and the contribution link for him. Great. Thank you so much, Raul. Go back out there, knock some doors, and kick some butt, man.
Good deal. Stay safe, everyone.
Yeah, cool. Thanks.